Well, hello. It's really wonderful to see a few of you participating live, and hello also to folks who are watching this recording. I'm Lindsay Ganong, and I'm the director of Montana Dietetic Internship and Graduate Program. Oh, Emma, you are muted.
I'm trying to do everything on the smaller screen and it is not loving the full screenness of my presenting.
Okay.
Okay, I
Oh,
should be unmuted now. Can you hear me?
yep. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm Emma Smith. I'm the assistant director.
And we are just really excited to be able to share with you about the program today. And we welcome your questions anytime. We're going to go through a program overview, the coursework, what to expect when you come to Bozeman for orientation, as well as program logistics, what we expect for application timeline, and all those kinds of things. But feel free to unmute yourself or raise a hand, put something in the chat, and we're very happy to answer questions as we go along. Okay.
This is us. Okay.
So we offer two programs, a Dietetic Systems Leadership Master's, which is a Master of Science and Dietetic Internship. We also offer Dietetic Internship only, which is just the second year of the master's program overlapping for people who already come in with a master's. And so we'll talk through each of those program types. And what we have here are photos from our orientation and professional development weeks. So we have an online program that the whole first year of the master's is online. And then for dietetic internship, folks come to Bozeman, Montana, and we spend 6 weeks together doing orientation, professional development, and our sustainable food systems foundations. And these are photos at Park County Farm to School's Deep Creek Ranch, where we went to visit this August. The second photo down is a classroom day where we're going through orientation professional development stuff. And then again at Deep Creek Farm, we went out there, we got to see how they're growing food for the schools in Livingston and other schools in Park County. And that they're kind of expanding their footprint. And they're just one of the strongest farm to school organizations in the state. And it was really fun to go out there and spend some time with them. We also offer that as a rotation site as well. So at the Montana Dietetic Internship and Graduate Program, we develop emerging professionals. So we are trying to prepare you for the next challenges that dietetics is going to confront. And we know that that takes folks who are willing to take risks, who are dynamic problem solvers. And you'd have to be a confident learner to go out there and be ready to take on all those challenges. So we both of the programs are at a graduate level. We are increasing the rigor from an undergraduate program. And we're also taking you through coursework that will make you prepared to be leaders in food nutrition in both people and planetary health and progressive and critical thinkers. So we are going to bring you through coursework on policy, on research methods, on advanced medical nutrition therapy, so that you are a well-rounded person who can really find the solutions that we as a profession and we as a world have not discovered yet. And these big challenges, you're going to be able to be a part of those solutions. So our model is dietetic systems leadership for both our master's and the dietetic internship. So at the center of this model is our mission and the output that we are trying to achieve with you all. So dietetic systems leaders are future dietitians who lead sustainable health solutions for people on the planet. And the way we do that starts with systems thinking. And that's the ability to recognize and understand relationships rather than looking at components or pieces. We like to look at the whole, at the system, so that we can analyze complex systems to think of how systems are embedded within different domains like food systems and healthcare systems. and at different scales. So we have a local food system and a global food system. And this really helps us to deal with uncertainty, which is the world we live in, right? We also focus on collective care, that we have a shared responsibility for each community member's well-being. And the way we address those kinds of things in the program are through LGBTQ plus healthcare allies training. We teach from a trauma-informed nutrition care lens, from a weight-inclusive nutrition care lens. And these are all things that we ask you to come to the program with open-mindedness to these, and you can kind of take what you like and leave the rest. But we always like to let folks know that those kinds of things are coming. Also, dietetics competency, right? So when you leave the program, you're going to have completed all of the competencies required for dietetic internship so that you are a well-prepared entry-level dietitian, and you're going to have a chance to visit and revisit those competencies until you're feeling strong and ready to pass that RD exam. We also work on personal empowerment, and I think this is something pretty unique to our program. We want you as students to increase your self-efficacy, your belief in yourself that you can do it, and personal growth. And so we start that from day one. We have a graduate student orientation to get the whole cohort together. It's happening throughout all your classes. We're providing a lot of mentorship and advising. And then orientation and professional development weeks, we go through uh, learning more about your personalities, how they work with other personalities. We are really encouraging you to develop and follow your passions, which is one of our values that we're going to talk about next, too. Because ultimately, this program is a progression where you're coming in basically an undergraduate, and we are getting you to a point where you are reaching your highest personal and professional potential. And so we really set up each step for you to grow in that way. And it's really an intense time of growth through the program. So these
Or through these.
each domain, and if you have questions about them, we can come back to them, but they're here for us if we'd like to see. So, our values, I already mentioned developing and discovering your passions. So, you can do this by bringing your own interests into projects like your policy brief, your lunch and learn presentation, your professional project that's going to happen throughout 2 years for the master's students. And for dietetic interns, they don't have to do another professional project because they've probably done something like that in their master's degree. But everyone has a chance to develop a poster or presentation that we ask you to present to our state dietetics association, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, at the end of the year. So we're here to kind of guide you in bringing that energy and motivation to your work. We nurture that whole person, self and professional development, which I talked a bit about on the last slide. We also practice and cultivate transdisciplinary inquiry and systems thinking. That's because if we stay in our silo of only knowing nutrition, we are not prepared to tackle what are called these wicked problems. You may have heard that term, where they're problems that are dynamic and they don't have one solution. And it really takes cross-sector collaboration to reach solutions. And we act with integrity and work towards a more just, inclusive, and livable future. And those are woven throughout the program as well, in some of the ways that I talked about community care.
So, just some examples of what those kind of values look like in action. We have a student here from a current cohort who did research that was based out of a collaboration with community-based organizations in Senegal. We have students here hanging out outside of class, outside of the classroom at a Bobcats game. This center picture is actually my cohort. We, during those orientation weeks that you're in Bozeman in the second year, this is us going on a hike here in Bozeman. This is some work done on I believe this is Town's Harvest Farm, where students are really engaging in that systems thinking. They're understanding different areas outside of clinical nutrition. And then this is our year one orientation. There was some team building activities that we did in that year one to sort of get to know your cohort. And then this is also another picture of cohorts getting to hang out with each other. So these are periods of time where you're getting to socialize with your cohort, but this is also really helping that self-efficacy and that empowerment because you're out here developing as a professional and engaging with your cohort, yes, as potential friends, but then also as future peers and with you in the profession. So, as a program overview, as Lindsay mentioned, we have the option for the Dietetic Systems Leadership MS, which your master's will be in dietetic systems leadership. Some people think it might be clinical nutrition, or the master's is dietetic systems leadership, and then the dietetic internship. And this is a 2-year program. So that first year is fully online coursework. It's 2 semesters with optional summer electives. And then that second year is the supervised practice, where if you're not already here in Montana, you come out to Montana and you're assigned to one of 6 geographic locations to complete your supervised practice rotations. The second option is the 1-year dietetic internship graduate certificate, which you essentially jump to this second year of supervised practice, assuming you already have a graduate degree or a master's degree. And then this is that supervised practice year. And throughout the entire program, both the master's coursework and some of the coursework and discussions framed during the supervised practice, the internship focus areas that interns are really given a plenitude of opportunities to explore our Indigenous and rural health, community food access, sustainable food systems, and weight inclusive care. So these focus areas are woven into that year of online coursework. And they're also very common focus areas for that professional project that Lindsay mentioned. And they're also core tenets of the program's approach to dietetics, where we discuss sustainable food systems. We have that sustainable food systems rotation. And then Indigenous and rural health, you have the opportunity to engage in various Indigenous food sovereignty rotations, and we have some educational opportunities around Indigenous food sovereignty. There's several community food access locations, and while weight inclusive care is not necessarily a rotation specific opportunity, there is coursework that specifies that, and there is a lot of weight inclusive care approach to our program. Those 6 supervised practice locations are all across Montana, and then we have one right nearby in Sheridan, Wyoming. And this is where you complete those 36 weeks of supervised practice, either in the second year of the master's program or the 1 year of the DI only track. And interns will start here in Bozeman, for their orientation weeks and then travel to one of these 6 locations for the majority of their rotations, especially their clinical. So again, to just discuss the master's track, which is that dietetic systems leadership master's track, that's 2 years. We have that 3-day orientation in person in Bozeman, where you saw the folks on the ladder rope swing doing group building or team bonding activities. And then that entire first year is online coursework for the first 2 to 3 semesters. Important things to note here is that it is possible to work part-time during this year, as a mix of the courses are synchronous and asynchronous and online. And you can remain in your home community for that first year if you so choose. And then that second year is when you would have to come out to Montana for your supervised practice, where you travel to Bozeman for orientation and then travel to your placement location. These are some pictures from primarily that orientation period. In the second year, we have a student on one of our tours, and then we have another student engaging in our culinary medicine activity that we do during orientation weeks and sustainable food systems rotations. And so we'll talk more about that specifically in a couple later slides. So that coursework again looks something like this, where in the fall you'll take these two courses, which are online and synchronous. And then in the spring, you'll take these two courses. So you're starting with research methods to inform your professional project. And you're also taking one of my favorite classes because I'm an alum of the program on weight science and nutrition care, weight inclusive care. And then in the spring, you'll get graduate level advanced medical nutrition therapy education and delve more into research methods. Again, just to emphasize here, we find that students can typically work up to about 30 hours a week during this year, but we really emphasize that you still prioritize your coursework during this time. Um, and then in addition to those required courses, you also have the opportunity to select a couple electives. And so we ask that you choose at least one policy elective. And these are an example of those different policy electives that are available to you. And then you can opt to either select a second policy elective or you can choose an additional elective course from this list where we cover food systems management, nutrition education and counseling, global food perspectives, native food systems, healthcare informatics. So if you want to branch out of policy, these are some other electives that are available to you, and they're online as well during that first year. And then we move into year two, where you complete, so you are technically enrolled in two courses during that second year, and that is that food systems leadership opportunity that we have at the beginning of the first year or the second year in campus. And then that transitions into class that we have during the internship, which is the internship year. And then we meet once a week as a class, or as a cohort. And then you'll also be working on your professional project at this time.
And I'll just add to the
Yeah.
internship year that we have assignments to make sure that you get through every competency. So you
Mhm.
are in internship rotations 35 to 40 hours a week. You're completing things like a quality assurance, a clinical staff relief, an in-service
Yeah.
assignment. You're doing telehealth counseling. There's an optional outpatient like counseling skills assignment. So it's a pretty intense time where
Yeah.
you're working through those assignments kind of in addition or alongside your supervised practice hours. And then we meet, it's a half day every Wednesday. So you come to
Mhm.
online class with the whole cohort. We do check-ins and see how everyone's doing, where they're rotating. And then at class, we do things like we had some more sustainable food systems related lectures this year and more
Mhm.
like activities. We went through our trauma-informed nutrition care curriculum, went into the fall from orientation into the fall. We also had career services come. So to talk about how do you search for jobs, how do you prepare your resume, what should you prepare for in repaying any loans that you might have, that financial education. So again, it's really like making things well-rounded. And then we all go
Mhm.
back graduation week to Bozeman again, where we can really get a handle on the RD exam expectations, licensure, scope of practice, um, salary negotiation workshop, and of course, walking for graduation as well.
Yeah.
Claire.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, this also applies to the dietetic internship students as well.
Yes, so this
Mhm.
curriculum that you're seeing in year two, this is the dietetic internship curriculum minus the professional project credits because those are MS only, because we're assuming that you've had a similar experience in your master's. So these are the 12 credits, the three of nutrition, food systems, leadership for nutrition professionals, and then six additional in internship, or nine additional. That's the 12 credits.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And in that vein, this is a very full, very busy year. There's a lot going on. This is an intense period of professional development, especially with the internship and then the outside competency-based work that Lindsay was mentioning. And so for this year, we do ask that you There's a portion of our handbook that discourages students from working during this time just because of the demands you're shadowing your preceptors for. You're expected to follow their schedule. So you're typically working a 36 to 40-hour work week and then completing those projects and that coursework outside. And so this is a quite a busy year. And so we do discourage working during this year compared to that first year if you are doing both of the master's years. And so that year two supervised practice, just to walk you through, it's 5 to 11 weeks of rotations in the Bozeman area, including our orientation. And then we move to wherever your major rotation placement is for the fall. And you complete your supervised practice rotations at clinical, community, and food service sites. And then you come back to Bozeman for graduation week. And I also want to highlight that period here called self-select. So at the very end of your 36 weeks, those last 2 weeks are a self-select rotation. And so that's an opportunity where interns can select their own rotation that they wish to complete during supervised practice. That can be returning to a rotation that they loved and wish they had more time at. That can be rounding out an opportunity that they really wanted to have during the internship year. That can be attending a rotation outside of Montana that they really hope might translate to a employment position after. There's a lot of different ways that interns utilize self-select, but that's a really exciting and relatively unique opportunity that you have there at the end.
I'll,
And yeah.
sorry, I'll also just mention that we are accepting DI onlys for 26, 27 right now and
Mhm.
27, 28. So these dates kind of relate to if
Yeah.
we're doing the master's and then the DI from 2026 to 28, but we are also still accepting folks for the 26, 27 academic year.
Yeah, great point. And then during graduation, we also walk you through more specifics regarding the RD exam and credentialing and kind of set you up for success there.
So the outline of this orientation and foundation weeks, it's 3 weeks in Bozeman with your whole cohort doing professional development and sustainable food systems foundation, and then 2 to 3 additional weeks of the sustainable food systems applied, or really this is just your sustainable food systems rotation. And so Bozeman is not a geographical region where you can complete the rest of supervised practice because we don't have a comprehensive care facility that can offer you the breadth of experiences that you need for that clinical experience. So you are relocating to Bozeman once and then relocating to Kalispell, Missoula Butte, Helena, Great Falls, Billings, or Sheridan, Wyoming, then to finish out the supervised practice or dietetic internship.
Um, I didn't actually know this until Lindsay let me know, but these are the same roads at different times of year. Um, and that's just something to expect if you're not from Montana originally, just understanding that um, the winters are quite wintry, although not so much this year, um, which is great for winter sports fans, but is something to be mindful of with driving. And we also have just unparalleled natural beauty here, but also given the road conditions and also just the distance, we're called Big Sky Country. It's a vast, non-dense state. It's not possible to commute to from Bozeman to those major placement sites. So, as Lindsay mentioned, you will relocate once to Bozeman for orientation, and then relocate again to the location of your major placement site, just to make commuting possible.
So your rotations are in general, everyone's going to get, I'll start from the bottom. Everyone's going to be in graduation for the last final week. Everyone's going to get at least 2 weeks of self-select and 4 weeks of food service management. So that will be made up of 2 weeks at a K-12 or sometimes their K-8 school food service director rotation, a university one, either at University of Montana in Missoula or Montana State University here in Bozeman. And then everyone gets 2 weeks minimum of hospital food service. So hospital and then either school or university. And of course, we can always do more than that, but it's a minimum of 4 weeks. Community nutrition, we say a minimum of 6, but for example, one intern's preferences were so clinically focused. One year, she had like 21 weeks of clinical, so I think she probably only had like 4 weeks of community. And the way we build your schedules is super individual. So we ask for your internship preferences ranking. We give you a ranking survey. Then we have Emma and I meet with you individually, and then we build your track completely based on your preferences. And we discuss with you, like, would you prefer this or that? And then we do our very best to meet your needs based on preceptors' availability and kind of making it work with all the other schedules in our giant Tetris. So that's one way we really support your, seeking your passions and that personal growth too, as we want you to be where you want to be. And then clinical, minimum 9 weeks in a comprehensive care facility. And then if you want to go to a rural or what we call critical access hospital, a VA, Indian Health Service, or a long-term care or dialysis, we can add 3 to 7 more weeks on that, just depending on your interests. The Sustainable Food Systems Rotation is that course, Nutrition 560. So it's a 3-credit course that happens very concentrated in the fall before you go to your major rotation sites. That's we're going to talk about that experience in the next few slides, so I won't do it now. And then the Sustainable Food Systems Foundation, they are 1 to 2 weeks of worth of tours and really sustainable food systems, like systems thinking foundations and thinking about planetary health and dietitians' role in it, all those sorts of things.
So as Lindsay mentioned, we have that orientation and sustainable food system foundation. So those are those tours. And those orientation weeks, you really have a full breadth of professional development opportunities. We have a clinical workshop that is super helpful getting you warmed up and ready and feeling confident in your skills going into your clinical rotations. And we also meet some competencies there, and we have a patient simulation. It's a really great time. We have a culinary medicine coursework that we help in collaboration with medical and nursing students. And it's just a really fun time to be in Bozeman and on campus. And then, as Lindsay mentioned, we also have those tours. This is a tour of Park County Farm to School, which is really one of the premier farm to school organizations here in Montana. And so you really have a full breadth of different professional development opportunities and get a really good feel for Montana and its food system.
So these are a few other sustainable food systems rotations. Yes, Claire.
Just a quick question about when you're having your orientation experience at Bozeman. For the dietetic internship students, are you considered a like MSU student and have the benefits of the MSU community?
So it's sort of mixed. Like you're definitely a student, but for example, the gym and like therapy and those kinds of things are available if you're over 7 credits and you're taking 6 credits a semester. So, but you will be offered like healthcare insurance through the university, student financial aid. And you can pay a fee to get access to like the gym and counseling
All the
services.
other amenities.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We don't offer housing. So
Oh,
you can't get graduate housing or a dorm room because we're technically an online program and it's too short of a time frame. We have seen some students get access to our grad housing if they come to Bozeman like a year early and maybe like work here and live here. Then they can extend it through the end of this sustainable food systems section, which usually ends like the end of September and for as long as they'll be in Bozeman.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So during the sustainable food systems rotation, where you're either in groups of like 9 to 10, or like next year we have like 13 coming in. So we're going to do it all together in 3 weeks. It's systems thinking. It's the dietitian's role in sustainable, resilient, and healthy food and water systems. You are on the farm. We have a learning farm that is an operating farm. They sell at farm stand. They have a community supported agriculture, and students are out there learning about crop rotations, the difference between organic, regenerative, conventional. They are helping to dig carrots and beets and pick kohlrabi and make flower bouquets for the farmers, the farm stand on campus. Um, and they're also, we have a full day of food preservation, so canning. We usually make like a fruit leather or some kind of like last year, I think we did dehydrated cherry tomatoes, which were so good. And so that you're feeling confident in how to preserve that season and use it throughout the year of, because Montana has a short season for growing. We also have that interprofessional food as medicine, where we're collaborating with medical and nursing students. Everyone leads a lunch and learn discussion. One day you are cooking lunch, and another day you lead a discussion on your passion project. And so, like 3 days a week, we're eating together and doing discussions from everyone in the cohort for like 3 weeks. It's really wonderful. And then the policy brief is a chance where you get to look at how policies can influence food environments, food accessibility, agriculture, really a huge breadth. And these photos are actually from the foundation weeks. Montana Beef Council takes us on a tour every year of a ranch. Often we go to also a processing facility. Um, we and then we go to some sort of retail spot as well, but it kind of varies. But they take us on a bus and they pay for it all, and we like to balance that experience out with looking at other types of beef and livestock production facilities. So last year we went to North Bridger Bison, which is just north of Bozeman, and they grow bison. We also go to like a permaculture demonstration farm and a veggie processor. We see compost. We see the recycling center, like where is our waste actually going? And then this photo, where we're outside, we last year started this. It's called a relational foraging workshop. And so a Blackfeet and an Irish facilitator brought us out to one of our local recreation areas, and they showed us where um, prairie turnips were growing and how Indigenous peoples actually, the Blackfeet, like curated that land. They would come through seasonally, not every year, because the turnips take like 7 years to grow like this big. And then it takes them 3 years to get like a seed head. And they showed us how you can pick a turnip and then replant the seeds so that they're there. And they just showed how like food is everywhere around us and we just don't even know how to recognize it anymore. And it was just a really cool time of storytelling and connecting with the land here in the Bozeman area. And we really hope to continue those workshops as well so that we are kind of grounded in, you know, settlers have been here for so short a time compared to indigenous peoples who really cared sustainably for the land for tens of thousands of years, and they still do. So we really try to interact with those practices as well.
And then that, again, just to continue with those Sustainable Foundation Weeks tours, other tour opportunities we have are going to D&D Greenhouse, which is a greenhouse production facility. They're in Livingston, Lindsay, or just outside,
Yeah,
or
just
Stow. So,
it, my
um, yeah. And then we also get that permaculture opportunity where you learn about permaculture practices. This is also on that same relational foraging workshop. And This is from a student lunch and learn, so that opportunity where you're creating lunch together, often with produce that you yourself have harvested from Town's Harvest Garden, which is that educational farm that Lindsay was talking about. And so, really, again, just a period of time where you get to delve into food systems and food systems um, relationality.
And then this slide where it says farmers and ranchers working to end hunger in Montana, that's the only nonprofit federally um, certified multi-process animal facility in the country.
Mm,
And it started during COVID, where local ranchers were donating beef to get processed into 1 pound ground packages that went through our Montana Food Bank network all over the state. And this is often the type of processing facility the Beef Council will take us to see. And it's really close. There's so much more to learn about that and how it's a
mhm.
unique thing in the food system.
Yeah, for sure. And then that takes you into your sustainable food systems rotation. So, as Lindsay mentioned, we have those tour weeks, or which are sort of that foundation weeks. And then you move into your rotation weeks, which that's when you're in earnest working at Townsend Harvest Farm and Garden. And then you are also doing that food preservation lab. My year, we made like kimchi and a whole bunch of fun stuff. And also having you cook and also do medical nutrition therapy education modules with those medical and nursing students. And so, really, just a wide variety of different opportunities to really get hands-on experience with sustainable food systems and food systems in general. And then this is 1 year of the pickling. This is students managing that farm stand on campus. And then this is cooking in the kitchen.
So, food as medicine is that interprofessional um, experience where dietetic interns are teaching medical students about what is medical nutrition therapy, what's the role of the dietitian, and how physicians can support nutrition in their patients' care. So we have 3 lessons: a food and culinary literacy lesson, an adverse food reactions, where we make foods that are like dairy-free, egg-free, gluten-free, nut-free, anything that there might be an allergy or sensitivity to. And then we have one on gut health as well. And so this coursework is being adapted right now, but what you can count on is experiences with medical students and nursing students, where we're really exploring planetary health and um, how we increase food access for our patients so that they can actually follow the nutrition advice that we're giving, and that you're going to get a chance to learn from, with, and about your interprofessional, interdisciplinary team.
And then we talked about the lunch and learn opportunity, I believe. And then you also have a policy brief assignment during this rotation this time. And you can either use your lunch and learn topic, or you can select a different topic where you identify a food systems policy. And then you really dive deep into that policy, research it, and analyze all the different trade-offs, stakeholders, recommendations, just get super familiar with that policy, and then also make recommendations for policymakers so that you're really demonstrating that you, as a future RD, understand how policy shapes food systems, dietitians' roles, health outcomes, et cetera. Really just, as Lindsay mentioned, when you're building that well-rounded professional, understanding policy is a really great outcome of this project. And then here's that lunch and learn. Lindsay, I don't know if you want to popcorn this one.
Yeah, I think we've probably talked about it
Yeah,
enough at this,
yeah,
and we can move.
yeah. And these have a really fun range of topics. I think one student talked about microplastics, and we'll also talk about health and communications. There's a wide range.
So There's a few other slides in this section where we're just going to talk about some of that working towards a just, inclusive, and livable future. And we um, do those industry sponsored tours. We do weight inclusive care, Indian education for all, healthcare allies training, and sustainable food topics can really land anywhere. So we just ask that you show up with an open mind. And we ask for your curiosity, reflection, integration, and your growth, and just openness to discussion about these things. So we in Montana are on the lands of several tribal nations that are federally recognized. Bozeman is down here on what they call common hunting ground, but Blackfeet or Amskapi people would say that it's actually Blackfeet land. So you'll get to learn more about these kinds of things. And you can see the reservation communities as well, where and on the next two slides, I'll show you how you could get some experiences with Indigenous food sovereignty and Indigenous communities if that's one of the things you're looking for. So caring for Indigenous Montanans are some modules that you'll choose at least one of. And often we'll say, like, if you're going to Kalispell, you're most likely to serve Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes who are on the Flathead Reservation, or Blackfeet people, Amskapi Piikani. And so we ask that you do at least one of those trainings so that you can have some cultural awareness and culturally sensitive care, culturally responsive care when you're serving Indigenous people. And then if you want a rotation in an Indigenous community, we can offer that as well. So Fast Blackfeet is the food access and sustainability team. They have a food pharmacy and like a shopping model for their food pantry. They also have like cooking Indigenous foods or just like making the most of what foods are available and affordable. Lots of really cool stuff. And then we typically do that as a 4-week rotation near the end, right before your self-select. So it would be like 2 weeks at Fast Blackfeet and then 2 weeks at the Blackfeet Community Hospital, which is an Indian Health Service community hospital. And they offer student housing there, which is great. If you're in the Missoula area, you might be able to go to St. Ignatius to the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes Tribal Health, Diabetes, and Community Program on the Flathead Reservation. Or if you're in Billings, you might be able to go to Hardin Farm to School. And this is a really cool rotation where the preceptor is half-time the farm to school person for the school district, and half-time she is the executive director of the food pantry in town. So you get to see that really cool mix of how those things can work together. Billings, Yellowbird has actually just switched its name to Bluebird Lifeways. And that's with Northern Cheyenne people and lame deer. So we would put you up in a hotel that's close to this site for 2 weeks. And that would be in the fall, where you work with this fabulous preceptor, Lynette. And she last year had the interns do an elder and a youth meal to really honor the most like special stations in Northern Cheyenne culture. And they also do a lot of home garden installation. It's very personable, practical, relational work. And it's just like a super cool opportunity if it's something you want. We've also been able to have folks go to the Buffalo Nations Food System Initiative here on campus, where there's a seed saving garden. There are several like production gardens that are in the Buffalo Bird Woman style, which is like sunflowers around and then squash and beans in the middle rather than the Three Sisters where they're grown all together. So there's just so much to learn in this way. And if it's not your priority, it's not something you have to do, but we do like to let you know some of the options that are there.
So application logistics. So as Lindsay mentioned, we are accepting applicants for our 26 27 DI cohort, as well as the 26-28 masters. And then I guess the 27-28 DI. And so with that, going into February, your DICAS applications are due February 8th. And with that application, there also comes an application fee specifically to Montana State or to our program, which you're guided through how to do that in DICAS. And then we will then notify you after we receive your application and your application fee and schedule a Zoom interview with you. Those will occur February 10th through February 17th. And then by February 27th, the end of February, you'll be notified by the program whether or not you've been accepted into the program. And then we ask that you let us know your decision by March 15th. And then once you let us know your decision, you have until March 23rd to submit a non-refundable deposit to secure your spot.
And this year we did a fall and a spring. I'm not sure what we're
Mhm.
going to do next year because it seems like spring is more
Yeah.
aligned with like what students are looking for so that they can apply to several programs in the same selection
Mhm.
period. So kind of stay tuned for what we're looking for next year. But we may also offer the fall again. We may just only offer spring.
Thanks. So requirements for if you want to complete the master's and dietetic internship track, so that 2-year track, we require that you have your bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university, your DPD statement, that $57 application fee. We don't require a GRE, and then you complete that DICAS application, which includes 3 references. And then we ask that you not apply to MSU's graduate school until after you've been officially accepted into the program. So that's not a part of your application until after you've been accepted by us through that process where you interview, et cetera. For the DI only, or that dietetic internship only track, that degree shifts to a master's degree in a related field from an accredited college or university. That same DPD statement, that same application fee, still don't require the GRE, and then that same DICAS application and same policy for the grad school, except this time it would be for a grad certificate. What your diecast application looks like. It has general information about your transcript. We ask for references, etc. But then we also ask for a personal statement. And this is about 40% of your application. This is very significant. We ask you various questions. We ask that you create this in a narrative and that you really help us understand who you are as a person, address different aspects of why the program is interesting to you, what attracts you to the MDI, what attracts you to the RD profession, etc. Lindsay, I don't know if there's anything you want to add about the personal statement.
Yeah, so this should be your best writing that you've done.
Mhm.
Your eyes and other trusted mentors' eyes should be on it. And we are a program that's not just looking at GPA. We're not just looking at how you scored in your MNT courses. We want to know why this program's a fit for you. Why is what we're offering what you're looking for? Because when we find that fit, that is the best case scenario. And so that's what we're going to be looking for in your application, in your interviews, and making our decisions based on.
Which brings us to our review process. And so, because we only have about 10 minutes left, I'm going to touch on this relatively quickly, but if you have questions about it, please pipe up and let us know. Um, and so with that, again, as Lindsay mentioned, the real takeaway here is that your personal statement is a really important part of your application. We do also ask for professional references, your transcript, volunteer and work experiences, and we're really, really looking for a fit. And your application is reviewed not just by us, but also a committee.
I'll add
Oh,
that if you are a person that has a ton of work experience and no volunteer because you were working so much, that'd be a great thing to discuss in your application. If you are a person who's adventurous, adaptable, really excited about making a move to Bozeman and then relocating to another spot, or are particularly interested in any of the assignments or rotations that we've already spoken about, would be a great thing to discuss about why those experiences are going to help you be the dietitian that you want to be.
And then we talked about those six different major placement locations. So for the 26-27 DI only, so that upcoming DI only track that we have available, we still have rotation slots available in Billings, Missoula, Butte, and Sheridan. For the MSDI, starting in 2027, yeah, for the next MSDI cohort, we have all available except Helena. And then for that later DI cohort, we also have all available except Helena.
And the MSDI, this is my mistake, should be 2026-28.
Mhm.
Starts this fall and goes through
Yeah.
2028. We have all available except Helena. Because we do have a pre-selection, or excuse me, an early selection for our MSU undergrads. And so with their acceptance, we no longer have Helena open. So I will just really briefly cover this. Folks ask about admissions, but up until last year or the year before, we had a match system. So we would have a lot of applicants that we would rank, and then they would rank, and then we would get matched. So you see that there were a bunch that were not selected, but that means that they also probably didn't rank us the highest, that it wasn't the right fit. And the numbers of not selected in the most recent years too, those are also representative of students who just chose to go to other programs. It's not necessarily that we didn't accept a third of the, or excuse me, a quarter of the people who applied. So it's pretty, I mean, it's a lot less competitive than it was because we have so many more graduate programs and dietetic internships for you all to select from.
Just to discuss program cost, this is available on our website as well. These are the estimated fees for that full 2-year master and dietetic internship program. Note these are the 25-27 rates, and so those are reassessed in May, so they might shift a little bit. But it's that application fee, program enrollment, and then your credits based on whether you're a resident or a non-resident.
And so these are charged based on how many credits you take each semester. And then that
Mhm.
program fee is charged $5,610 in the fall on top of your credits and $5,610 in the spring in that internship year. And those are, we are eligible for financial aid. So all of it can be covered by loans depending on your individual position.
Mhm. And this is that non-graduate degree, so that DI only track. The biggest shift here, because we do have the application fee and we do still have that same program enrollment fee, is just that you're only paying for those 12 credits that we discussed in that curriculum overview. And then that just varies again based on whether you're a Montana resident or non-resident. As Lindsay mentioned, there are financial aid opportunities. Lindsay, I don't know if you wanna, I realize I sort of got excited and jumped ahead here.
That's okay. That's great. So federal financial aid eligible, both programs are the MSDI and the DI. In the first year, we really encourage folks to apply to our college-wide application for scholarships. So that is called CAT scholarships. And for anyone who accepts that we accept and you say, hey, I'm ready to come, we give you that information right away. And you can qualify for those awards by being um, related to an alum, the fact that you're a graduate student. Like there's a whole bunch of different criteria that once you put your application in, it automatically matches you. It could be degree based with all the scholarships you're eligible for. And then in the second year, we have an endowment that the former and founding director Colleen Kaiser developed. So we have 20,000 a year that we can distribute to just the dietetic interns, that cohort only. And it the size of awards is 750 to 3,000 per person, but it's totally based on like how many apply as well.
Mhm.
So that's the amount of aid you can get from the program, and you can do those CAT scholarships again the second year if you're a 2 year. And then the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics Foundation has scholarships. And every year we have a few folks get those. So we always encourage folks to apply every year for those foundation scholarships. And that deadline's usually in April. So keep an eye out for that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, the floor is open. What would you like to know?
I don't know if I have any questions just yet, but I just want to say
Mhm.
thank you. Like it was really good to get a bunch of information in.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome. Great. Um, it
I
looks
have a
like,
question.
yes, please.
So you mentioned after being selected, we'll have a Zoom meeting. What to expect for that Zoom meeting?
After being selected, we'll have an online meeting. Well, selection will be finalized by March 23rd.
Okay.
Like that next week, we'll get everyone online. Actually, that Friday, that 27th, is when the first cohort meeting would be, where if you're DI only, we would talk, and then it would be a few weeks later for the MSDI. And then we have an in-person graduate orientation for master's students, and that's going to be the first week in August.
Okay. Thank you for answering. My question is like, it is like orientation or it's like an interview?
The interviews are,
In February.
can you go back to that slide?
Yeah.
Yep. So interviews are pretty much right after you get your DICAS applications in, and then we offer you um, acceptance by the end of February. And then the DICAS rules are that you all get a chance to consider every offer you've gotten, and you don't have to give any program an answer until March 15th. So on February 27th, we'll let you know if you're admitted, waitlisted, or declined. And then you can take that to make your final decision March 15th. And then we would start having online meetings with you very shortly after March 23rd when your non-refundable deposits in. And then we would get everyone together the first week in August for the MSDIs, or it's August 17th that we're starting this year for the 26-27 DIs here in Bozeman.
Thank you for explaining.
Absolutely. There was another question like what every day looks like. Emma, do you want to chat about what does an intern's day look like? Maybe once you're in your major rotation?
Gosh. It really varies so much based on your rotation location, or at least your what rotation you're doing in that moment. But as I mentioned, you do follow your preceptor's schedule. And so say you're in your one of your major clinical rotations. Um, One of mine was at a VA hospital. They started relatively early, around like 7:38 in the morning. So I would get there around that time as well for them. You would review any nutrition referrals, you would go to rounds, you would then look at those referrals, look at patients that you were following, and go have individual meetings with patients to either check on them or to assess them and perform nutrition focused physical exams, etc. Um, and then some clinical dietitians mix both inpatient and outpatient. So you might have some outpatient telehealth meetings or in-person meetings in the afternoon. You'll get to chart. And then maybe perhaps if the dietitian is involved in some sort of program or programming, you might be able to shadow that or lead a session or two of that. Um, and then usually, at least in that instance, go home around like 4 or 5. And then if it's more of a, say, like a WIC type rotation, you'll follow those hours where you'll get to experience what it's like to work at a government organization like WIC. You'll meet with participants, you'll meet with lactation consultants, really get a feel for what that kind of program offerings are. It very much varies. But yeah, your day in the life is kind of you really get a great feel for what it would be like to work in that specific setting as a dietitian. And whether you like it, whether it's maybe not for you, and also to really practice your skills in a true work setting. And they're always surprising. I didn't think I was going to love clinical all that much coming into the program. And then I had a bunch of amazing clinical rotations and actually being able to step into what a day in a life would look like. I realized that I really, really loved clinical. So it's a really great time to just keep an open mind and see, kind of try different shoes on and see how they fit and how they feel.
I just put our Instagram handle into the chat because we actually have a highlight reel where we develop a lot of social media skills. We have social media assignments so that you can become a really effective communicator in whatever role you end up in. And so one of the choices for that assignment is to do a day in the life. And so a lot of those are saved in the highlights spot too, where you can see from interns what their days looked like. I wanted to mention too that we have rotations in um, sports nutrition, private
Mhm.
practice, with our statewide nutrition programs, doing like school meals, administrative reviews at WIC offices, like Emma mentioned. We also have three different eating disorder styles of rotation where there's a group practice where it's outpatient telehealth. We also have an intensive outpatient program option from two of our eating disorder rotations. There are some that are just specifically long-term care. And really there, and one other that I wanted to mention is working with this organization that does nutrition communications for many times for-profit clients. So it might be like the Blueberry Association, or like maybe Disney wants to brand something with their character, and so they need to learn what um, the significance of Mexico's new law on marketing to children is, or maybe they are putting on a meeting for salmon growers, aquaculture growers from South America at an international salmon meeting. So we have like a nutrition communications focus as well that I think
Mhm.
is there for you if that's your primary interest too.
Yeah.
Outpatient diabetes, K-12.
You said sports nutrition. I know that ASPD or
Mhm.
ASPDA posted like a sports nutrition grad assistant position to
Montana
work.
State.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So we
Yes,
have
and I was interested in that, and then I was also wondering how that would play a part into the 2-year degree.
That's an awesome question. So we have had every year we have interns who are in our program because of that assistantship as well. So how that would work is you would interview with Cheyenne, the sports dietitian, um, at athletics, and I know she's really looking for folks that have some sort of prior nutrition sports experience, whether that's like volunteer or shadowing, like whatever it might be. And then and then we would also interview you like kind of simultaneously. And then ultimately Cheyenne would make that decision about the assistantship, and we would make the decision about whether you're admitted to the program. And then you would just, if the assistantship is awarded to you, it would cover whatever she says. Like I think it's a certain amount of credits plus a stipend that would cover the cost of your education. You'd get to travel with the football team or work with the Olympic athletes on their fuel station, lots of those kinds of things. And then you would just come to Bozeman and do the first year of online while you're in Bozeman, so you can also work with athletics. We also have a rotation with MSU Athletics during internship and also one at University of Montana over in Missoula.
Okay. So if I was able to like, or if I did that
Mhm.
route, and then I could also do it within my like selected. I think you also said there was like a selection.
Yes,
Your
Could you like go
self-select?
back?
yeah, you could
Oh,
go
okay.
back, or maybe like we had interns go with the US SKIMO, like ski association last year, and she's still like coaching for them. We've also had people go to like the Oregon Ducks or University of Washington to do self-select with some of those bigger teams. We've had people go to the Pittsburgh Pirates minor league organization or um, many, many different kinds of sports. We had someone with a
Yeah.
connection to the, oh, what's the NFL team that's like lightning, but it's not the
The
Chargers.
Chargers.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
that one. Yeah, so the self-select is literally like you can do anything you want.
Hmm. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good questions. Okay, any other questions for us right now? Comments? All
Thank you very
right.
much. Very helpful.
You're welcome. Well, and don't hesitate ever to reach out to Emma or me directly. Emma's newer to us, so we're getting her information up on the website, but my email's all over the website, so don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to talk with you one-on-one, just chat over email. And we really hope to see your applications coming in just over a week. Excellent.
Thank
So great
you.
time with us. Thank you.
Thank you.